Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name is Helen Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and I'm delighted that our fabulous guest today is
Leon McCowan. I'm just wondering what fabulous. It sounds like a really nice diet. A diet bar you should eat. I'm eating fabulous all week.
I thought fabulous as well. Yeah, I was like
fabuloso.
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 Estupendo.
Fabuloso. Okay, so shout out to the kids. Any little people who've done amazing things. Sam.
Yeah, this week just all my young people have been doing brilliant. Oh, actually, the one I'm really ecstatic about, sorry for all the others, is I teach a gorgeous girl, a young girl who's of Chinese origin in Southport. I teach her online, and she's in year 8, and at the end of her exams last year, her school do platinum, gold, silver, bronze. She got bronze and everything, and I started teaching her sort of just around Easter, just before Easter. And I was hoping to get her in silver, and she got gold across 3 areas in English. So I couldn't wait to tell me when she came on. And she has her lesson 5 till 6 on a Friday, which is just horrendous for her after school. And she's so committed, and I'm over the moon for her. She's worked so hard. So well done to people.
Well done to them. Well done. Leon, have you got any little people, young people in your life who you want to shout out to?
So I probably have to say my niece and nephew, who I got to spend some time with over the weekend in my mum's, and they just fill you with joy. I can't think of anything in particular, but Ben is effectively, me and my brother have been brought up by my dad. My dad's a bit of a comedian, so that's made me and my brother a bit of a comedian, and he's just like a mini me. So he's 12 years of age and he cracks jokes like a 30-year-old docker, which Brilliant. I can't ever fault. And then Lily is my niece, and she's been doing some TikToking in my Mars when I was in my Mars. So she's doing videos with a phone and showing me these videos. She's doing TikTok, and I think she's 8 or 9, which is just nuts.
Oh, brilliant. The kids are so
Did she ask you to be on any of the TikTok videos?
She hasn't yet. I don't think I'm going to be cool enough for them videos, I'm afraid. I can dance, but only after 42 sambucas.
And I'm just going to give a shout out to all of the little people who are just doing amazing things back in school after half term, and just doing amazing stuff, because we haven't had. But we need everyone to share certificates. So when all the kids are getting certificates, share the certificates, and we'll give them a little shout out. Because we used to give them all a shout out, didn't we, for like attendance and for being kind and all boss certificates and things like that. Success this week for you personally, Sandra.
Oh, so I've had a few this week. I've had a really good week. I enjoyed you and I did a day at the ADHD Foundation conference, which was lovely. And I enjoyed that and met some really cool people and had a great night out there. And I love Marcus Collins. He's just great. Wherever you see him, he's consistent. His performance is great, and I really enjoyed that. And we saw Will Young as well, didn't we? So that was cool. And our own came and enjoyed himself. So that was really good. There's been loads this week. I've had a really good week. So what about you?
So same. I was going to give a shout out to the ADHD Foundation. They work like super hard to put these events on, don't they? And it was just like run dead smooth, didn't it? And everyone was made up, and then the night was great, wasn't it? We had a great time in the night.
Tony Lloyd's birthday today, actually. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Tony. What about you, Leon?
Personal achievement for me this week would be I'm trying to do 300 kilogram deadlifts and 45 kilogram dumbbell bench press by the 17th of August. So I did 3 sets of 260 the other day on the dead, and just before, when I was in the gym, I did 40 key for 36 reps. So I'm nearly there.
Well done, you. That's amazing. Boss, good. You'll definitely have that by the 17th of August. Definitely.
I'm hoping so.
Is it just a personal target, or is it a challenge or something like that?
If I went to the gym and just went to the gym, I'd never do nothing. If I haven't got something, I'm all targets and driven by numbers and ticking boxes and all that kind of stuff. So if I haven't got something to aim at, I was having a conversation with me the other day, and she's like, "What charity event you doing?" And I was like, "None." She went, "Yeah, that's your problem." I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got nothing I'm doing. I need to find something." So I took a call before. So if any charities are listening and doing walks or weightlifting or anything strenuous, drop me a line, because I haven't got one right now. I took a call before from a guy from the Anthony Nolan Trust. Yeah. And he said, "Want to talk about fundraising?" I was like, "Go on, what is it?" And he was like, "We're just looking for corporate sponsors." And that's nice and stuff like that. But I kind of like to use a charity things so that I can have something to aim at. So we did one for Brian Lightbody's charity where we walked a marathon with 20 kilogram weights on late last year. That was really cool.
Brilliant. Cool.
The health projects have got some good stuff going on, good events and things. So
Cool. I'll drop Michelle a line.
Yeah. Abseiling and firewalking and all that sort of stuff.
Not abseiling's not for me, but yeah, I can do firewalking.
Yeah. Abseiling's not for me, but I'm going to firewalk. Yeah. So we're going to play this or that so we find out a little bit more about Leon. You go first, San, or me?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. What's it or quavers, Leon?
Do you remember them bags you used to get with Watsits and Quavers in? I'd rather have one of them, both of them.
They had mixed?
Yeah. Life changing.
I've never seen a mixed bag. Oh, okay.
Right.
What?
Mixed.
San?
I'm on, right, okay. Quavers, as a child, I wasn't allowed to eat Watsits because if I ate them, I went really hyper and the skin crawled and I was like dead angry, so I was never allowed to eat them.
What happens now if you eat them?
As if I'd go near a Watsit. But a lot of the colouring that was around in the 70s was banned by the EU. So, no doubt they'll bring it back again. But it was banned by the EU. So all that hyperactive orange stuff they got rid of, didn't they? So.
Well, you think they got rid of it. They're actually using it in Wigan as foundation. Have you ever been shopping in Wigan? It looks like they've been doing duck apple in a bowl of Watsits.
Okay, so this show is Liverpool City region. So hopefully we haven't got any viewers in or listeners to the podcast in Wigan. And if there are, there's no offence, hopefully.
These are all Leon's views, not ours.
Not ours. We had someone else another time who made comments about pie eaters as well.
Well, look, offence can't be given. It can only be taken. So I don't mean to give any offence. If anyone wants to take it, that's up to them.
Perfect. I'd go quavers as well. I don't like Watsits. I don't like that thing. They melt in your mouth anyway. I don't like that.
Yeah,
go on, San.
Polystyrene anyway. What's it?
Yeah.
Orange polystyrene. Okay, so Leon, walk by the canal or walk on a mountain?
Walk by the canal.
I knew he was going to say that.
Don't get no ducks on a mountain.
Yeah. What about you, San?
Walk on a canal by the skin of its teeth. You can
by the bottom of a mountain.
Yeah. Walk on a canal. We had a nice time that walk when we did one, and we went to Bernie's, Deli and McGull, and had something to eat, and then went for a walk. That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were walking to the running horses, but we didn't have time because I thought we'll have soup and then we'll have a pint and then we'll come back, and we didn't have time, did we?
No, it was
sweet. But it was lovely. Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings.
How about you, San?
When you say early, what's the time frame on that?
4:30.
Or like sunset or sunrise?
I'm all right after 6 a.m. If it's before 6, I don't like it. If it's got 5 in front of it, definitely not 4. I don't like it. I'm all right after 11 p.m. That works for me, so I'm okay. On Friday, we had the longest day because we were in St George's Hall for 6 a.m. So I think I was up at 4:45, and I got home about 2 in the morning, and that was a good day. But Saturday, I was destroyed.
Yeah, but that was the alcohol. That wasn't to do with tiredness.
How dare you? Well, I'm not sure on that one. I like early mornings in the summertime. In the winter, I don't. I prefer time.
Early mornings for me. Although I do like a good sunset. And I do like a good night out. So, yeah, a bit of a mix, really, depending on what I'm doing. Yeah, go on, Sam.
Lasagna or roast dinner, Leon?
Roast dinner.
Roast dinner.
Roast dinner.
Only wolves would say lasagna.
Or Italian people. Okay.
Have you had a roast dinner out of Il Forno, though?
No.
Life-changing.
Wow.
Did they have lasagna on the plate?
No. It's a proper amazing roast in Il Forno on a Sunday.
You know what? I did not know there was a roast there. I wouldn't have thought to go there for a roast. They have the calzone, which is the biggest calzone in the world. It's unbelievable.
I love calzone. Tom all the way from New Orleans. He says he loves lasagna. Hello to Tom. Oh, I haven't got the little clicky thing on.
John Howie said hiya from Spain as well.
So I hope you're using your Spanish, John, and you should be saying hola.
Yes, you are using your Spanish, John.
Yeah, so we're saying hello to John.
Consider yourself told, John.
I know. Double-decker bus or a coach?
To be on.
To be on.
Coach.
Yeah, but coach.
Oh, do you love double-decker buses?
No.
On the top, upstairs, on the top, on the back of the bus.
No.
Yeah. Double-decker bus for me.
No way. Not in a million years.
It depends who you know, like if you're going somewhere cool. I don't mean just like a Meffy bus, like going around. Just...
Well, I was on a Meffy bus going into town, stopping all the time in Tuebrook.
No, just like so if you were going like away on a long journey, would you rather get on a coach, like on a coach, or on a double-decker bus?
A coach, 100%.
Oh, I'd rather be on a double-decker bus.
Yeah, but a bus will go under a bridge and they'll cut the top off.
Yeah, I would rather do neither of them. I remember when in 2001, me and my brother went to Dortmund on a bus to watch the footy, and my brother was the same size and build as me, so it was horrendous. We were like on this coach for about 4 days.
I know I've just said Meffy bus. I didn't mean that, Craig. Craig, listen.
Yeah, and we advocate ergonomical
public transport.
Public transport.
Yeah. Big shout out to Mersey Travel if you're listening.
I'm going to get lynched tonight.
People as usual.
Go on, Sam. Last one.
Okay, last one. The Canary Islands or Greece?
Canary Islands.
Lanzarote.
I've not been to Greece, but I quite fancy it, and I've been to the Canary Islands, so I would say Greece because I've not been there yet.
I'd say Greece, definitely, because of all the ruins and the things of cultural interest as well.
There you go. Brilliant.
I can see that definitely, but I love Lanzarote. Frankie would probably say Greece, actually.
Would she?
Yes. My mum used to have a place over there, so she'd probably prefer it.
Lovely. Okay, San, Leon is our guest. Thank you to Leon for giving us time for us tonight. And Sandra's going to introduce him, and then we're going to find out more about Leon.
Brilliant. Okay, I've known Leon for a long time now, I'd say. Probably about, well, actually, I know when I've known Leon since December 2015, which is hilarious, that story, which always goes on about. And
Are you going to tell the story or not?
Well,
you have to tell it now. Now you've said it's hilarious. You have to tell it.
I'm going to let Leon tell it in a minute. He tells it a slightly different way than me. I tell it in an innocent way. Anyway, so I'll let Leon tell the story in a minute. But I've known Leon since December 2015, and we're good pals. And we really are. And I regard you very highly. And I know you're offered to help me out of a dreadful situation I was in, which sorted itself out, but I've never forgotten that, and thank you. But Leon is in business, and I want you to speak about that, but has set up something really cool that helps lots of people in the city, and he's ahead of us in his podcast journey, etc. Called the Sales Dojo. So I'd like you to talk about that really, if you want to, and also a bit about what you do in your spare time, and because he's given me lots of advice about growing veg and things like that. And he does a lot with charities and involved in Emmaus, which does that sort of furniture out for groups and things. But I'll let you speak about that now. So we want to know about your journey really, and how you've come to do what you do and you've got where you are.
Okay, where do I start? I was born at a very young age.
We're born at 0, like everyone. So, how do we know each other? Go on.
So Sandra and I were on a training course with the late great John Haynes.
Yeah.
And I said to Sandra one day, it'd be really nice to have a coffee one time and find out how I can help you. And Sandra, being a great networker that she was, said, "No, you're all right, mate. We get our phones off someone else. Thanks, though." Is there a more romantic way to tell that story, Sandra? Do you have another line on that?
I think you sort of led up to it. Well, no, that is what happened.
Listen, we were both young in our networking lives at that time. Sandra. So don't worry. There's lots of salespeople who would have tried to sell you something.
No.
I didn't know that story.
Yeah, it's he goes on about it all the time. And if people, he goes, "You're going to do a Sandra Scott on me if people won't have coffee with him." Oh, it's horrendous. He laughs about it.
We both laugh about it, Sandra. Come on, a joke is shared.
Yes, go on.
Yeah. So you want to know a bit about me as well, yeah?
Yeah.
So I've been in sales pretty much all my life. I started. My first job was selling cigarettes to other school children, and people don't like you talking about that, but I did make quite a bit of money off doing that many years ago. But my first job in sales was selling advertising. I worked in Martin's Bank building, the amazing building at the top of Water Street.
Yeah.
And I was selling advertising in there for about 18 months, made loads of money, which was great. Smoked about 50 cigarettes a day, because if you couldn't have a job in the office if you didn't smoke.
Wow.
It was that long ago. I was selling advertising. I got a Thompson's Local New Business Card, which is, for anyone who's not heard of these, before GDPR was a thing, Thompson's Local used to put an advert in the Thompson's Local or the Yellow Pages, and the Thompson's Local and Yellow Pages would immediately sell your data to everybody who wanted to buy it. So the Thompson's Local card, I got a card for a couple of guys who just set up a mobile phone business. So it would have been 22 years ago, I think.
Wow.
So I was phoning this card, trying to get these guys to buy an advert off me, and he said to me, phone me back on Tuesday, phone me back on Wednesday, phone me in a week, phone me in 2 weeks, phone me tomorrow, phone me at 1, phone me at 3. And I chased and chased and chased this guy down for about 6 to 8 weeks. And after that time, I phoned him and he said, listen, phone me back at 1 o'clock. So I phoned at 1 o'clock and he said, if you come in tomorrow, I'll buy an advert off you. And I was like, listen, mate, I don't think you understand how this works. I'm selling advertising over the phone. He said, if you come in the office tomorrow, I will buy the biggest advert that you do. And I was like, whoa, I was on 50% commission. Biggest advert was $5,000. He was in Preston. I didn't own a car, so I borrowed my mate's car, which was a maroon Escort Eclipse with the pale brown interior. Drove to Preston, went in, and the fella offered me a job. And I was like, listen, mate, I'm getting $2,500 on Friday off you buying this advert off me. It's not happening. We had a chat. He said, I'd really like to work with you. I'm really impressed with what you do on the phone, blah, 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 blah. And after a bit of a negotiation, he offered me a job in a company car. And I went in the next day and I was going to say retired. I didn't retire. I resigned from my job in the advertising company and I went and worked for these guys doing mobile phones. That was about 22 years ago. I helped them to get loads of sales in. Then we took someone on, I trained them, and then we took another person on. Then we set up a sales, telesales team, and I helped work with that. So over the space of about 4 years, they built the business, which they sold to one of the networks for a few bob. They did the same thing straight away. So I went and worked for them again straight away in another company. Over the next 3 or 4 years, they built that business again. We had staff, we had offices in Preston, Huddersfield, Nottingham, Derby, and somewhere else. And they sold that one about 4 years later again. Part of that deal is I had to stay in the business for a year. So I stayed in the business for a year, and then a year later I went and worked for them again because they started another business, and that would have been 15 years ago. So it was just when the iPhone came out. And that business actually went bust. And the reason it went bust is because there was lots of changes in the industry, and the iPhone came out making a massive difference in the industry. So the company went bust. I was told I was no longer going to have a job, and I had to tell all the staff that they had no job, which was grim. And then there was 3 directors, and each one of them approached me and said they wanted to work with me. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then a mate of mine went for a pint with him. I was like, oh, this is great. Everyone wants to work with me. And he was like, listen, pal, are you stupid? Like, what do you mean? He's like, well, do it yourself. And I was like, what? Okay. So actually, I was with Frankie for not long, and then Mum lent me a few bob to buy the assets of the company that had gone bust. So I bought the assets of the company that had gone bust, started for myself, and that was 11 years ago now. I've been doing that for the last 11 years for myself. Got an office in Liverpool, one Huddersfield, few staff, pay the bills, and everyone's happy. So that's the mobile phone journey.
Wow.
6 years ago, doing a course with John Haynes again. This man keeps popping up, doesn't he?
Mm.
And part of the course was I had to deliver a talk to other business owners to say what I'd done in my business career. And I was talking and saying some of the best times I've had was when I was working with someone who was in sales, and after a couple of months, they said, "Thanks for the help. I've got enough money together for my bonuses to put a deposit down for a house." Or they were saying, I've done a year's worth and I've got enough money together and I'm out of debt. And literally, as I was delivering this talk to 5 or 6 other business owners, the sun changed outside from behind the clouds. It came shining through the window. It was like, oh, and I realized that this was something that I really needed to do with my life. Was help people sell, because that's something I've proper loved doing all of my career. They're the best times I've ever had. So I went and seen Alex from Professional Liverpool, and Alex was boss, and she said, well, why don't you just do it? Let's do an event. Went and spoke to Andy Bounds and said, Andy, I really want to do what you do. And he said, oh, you need to do this and that and the other. I had a really good chat with him. I spoke to Hainsey as well, who helped me with some stuff. And we did the first event in March 2017.
Gosh.
I remember it well because the night of March 2017, my dogs were barking downstairs about 3 o'clock in the morning. And when I went down, there was 2 lads trying to break into the front door. So I'd had no sleep when we did the first event, which was interesting. So yeah, over 5, 6 years now, 5 years now. Over 5 years, you've had about 2,500 people through the door. In Liverpool, I've had loads of boss feedback from people saying, "Oh, I did what they told me, and I've managed to get them to say yes. I've just signed a deal. I've got this big one over the whatever." And then 2 years of COVID, we've spent loads of time doing a lot of that stuff online, and then we built a website which gives people access to the training online. And the key thing with the Sales Dojo is I was that salesperson sat in his car. Thanks, Dave. I was a salesperson sat in the car with 2 or 3 days left to go of the month, and I didn't have a clue I was going to hit my target and I was going to pay my bills the following month. So the important thing about the Sales Dojo, it's set up to help people who don't have access to £5,000 worth of sales training. The key thing with it is we've always done it so that it's free. It's a free event when we do the events in person, and we've always done it so that it helps as many people as we possibly can. The slogan that we've got is, "Want to help people hit more sales, close more targets, get paid more commission, and buy more new shoes."
Helen, I love the shoes one. It's brilliant, and I've got to say, I've heard so many great speakers over the years at different things, different trainings, different companies I've been on. The best speaker I ever heard was at the
Richard.
Sales Dojo. Yeah,
he was awesome, wasn't he?
Absolute. When you hear someone talk, and there's different things, I can always put I've heard Chris Eubanks speak. I've heard Gerald Ratner. I've heard so many famous people speak from BA right through my whole life, and he was the best I've ever heard. And when almost every word's still imprinted on your mind years later, and you can hold on to it. For those people who don't know, he was the son of the first victim of the Yorkshire Ripper. And how he's turned his life around was incredible, wasn't it? And he went through his background. He had photos and it was just incredible, wasn't it? And I remember I was with Alex Gregory Charlton, and we were just, and I didn't know her terribly well, and we were just like, wow. And I gave her a lift round to the business, and we were just sort of blown away by it. It was just so good.
He's awesome,
So
Richard.
I've always been, I knew about the Sales Dojo and everything like that. I've always and I've always thought it was for so I have this thing about salespeople, don't I? Sandra knows this really well. I have this thing about that salespeople are they're good at sales and things like that. And so for me, when I saw the Sales Dojo, I thought it was for sort of top class sales people. And it's only now that I realize that it's for just everyday folk who, sort of do salesy things in their business and stuff. And anyone who's got a business has to do sales, don't they? But I'm a bit wary about sales because I think, oh God, I'm not a salesperson. Do you know what I mean? And because I don't hit these targets and I don't speak in this way and things like that. And only over the past, I don't know, maybe 6 months, I would say, working with IP and things like that, and having conversations with people and Des and Sandra, so Des and Sandra are super good salespeople. And they both turn around, they go, no, you're a really good salesperson because you're passionate about what you do and things like that. So I've already made the note that I'm going to start going to the sales dojo to pick up tips from salespeople in what I think of like as a salesperson in my head type thing, because it is a skill of how, and I think the biggest skill which you've got and Sandra and Des and everything like that, it's the listening. I think that's the massive skill of sales is the listening, isn't it? And I get too excited and like talk about stuff and don't allow people to.
The thing is, Helen, you do that because you love what you do and you're enthusiastic about it. Okay. But I think what happens is, for a lot of people, sales is a dirty word because they think of people who come in your house overnight. Years ago, used to sell double days in, and they were there till midnight and wouldn't get out the house. And there's all that type of image. But it's not about that. It's about doing the right thing. And sort of Leon's ethos is the same as mine, and Des. Des is exactly the same. And it's about the long relationship. And if you just want a quick sale and you sort of give someone something that's not right for them, there's no trust there. They'll be really annoyed. They'll be livid that they've bought something and it's not. It's like, you've got to do what's right for the client as well. And that's what a proper decent salesperson is. They're really listening, but helping and building the relationship and doing the right thing by the client. And it's actually about being the height of professionalism, I would say. Whereas when people years ago used to sell things quickly, they just want the money and they run. That's not a proper salesperson. That's bordering on a con artist, really. And it's quite different,
Sales is responsible for that, by the way. So
yes.
the reason why that kind of stuff happens is poor management. So what often happens in sales companies or businesses that have got sales elements in it is someone who does really well at sales is given the job of sales manager because they're good at selling. And they're not really good at managing people. And it's a totally different thing. And the other reason why we've done that in sales and we're totally to blame for it is commission and bonuses. So they're a great idea for something to help to motivate people, but also really demotivational. They're also they really put pressure on people. And when you put pressure on someone, people sometimes go the wrong way. But I'm glad you've said that, Helen. And I hope someone who's listening who thinks the sales dojo is just for salespeople realize it isn't. If one person comes along in the next 6 months because of having this conversation, then it'll be definitely worth it. But everybody works in sales. So if you want a new job, you need to get good at selling yourself. If you want a boyfriend or a girlfriend, then you need to get good at selling yourself. If you want a promotion in work, then you need to get good at selling the reason why it's a good idea to give you a promotion. If you want to sell more of your stuff and you're a small business owner, you work in sales. Everybody works in sales. In a business, people are either sales or sales support. That they're the only two operations in business. Otherwise, if we don't sell more stuff, it's just a hobby.
No, he's on.
Yeah.
He's on.
And Des says spot on, Leon. Bad management is the curse of commerce, and Des does say that like all the time, doesn't he? Do you mean? And Des is the Jurgen Klopp of our office.
And Des is inspirational as well. Like he's so motivational. He really is. He's such a good person to have around.
His nickname is Yergs now. So from the sales dojo, who has been your so like Sandra's favourite was who's been yours, or can you not really say?
Oh God, I'm obviously getting these people to come back on and do talks and give us content, and I couldn't possibly pick a favourite. It'd be really tough for me to do that. I can tell you what my favourite talk was, if that's okay. So, guy called Steve Myers, who's been unbelievably good in terms of giving stuff and content, and he's really, really good with me as well. We're helping mentor me with some stuff. He did a talk about disc profile. So if you've ever heard of disc profile, it sounds dead boring, it sounds dead intense. But the most beautiful way of describing disc profile that Steve did on a talk was about making those different discs into different profiles into birds. So the dominant, the red one is the eagle. The yellow, which is the people one, is a parrot. The green is a dove, and the blue one is an owl. And I think if anyone wants to ever understand disc profile, that's an amazing way of understanding disc. So your red, your eagles are the ones who just want to make a decision, want to swoop in and swoop out. They don't want to think about too much about it. Your yellows are the people pleasers, the one who just want to get everyone involved and get everyone interested. The blues are the ones who need to see all the information. The owl's got his pins knees on the end of his nose and he wants to know all the bits. And then the dove is the one who's never ever going to make it say, oh, what do you think? I'm not sure. What do you think? And I think everybody sales is the study of human behavior, and disc profile is human behavior. Dave's got parrot tendencies, definitely. And it's all about human behavior, and the way that Steve delivered that is probably my favorite talk, because I bloody love disc profile. And if I talk to people about it before Steve's talk, they'd be looking at me going, what are you on about, pal? Now, when I talk about it and talk about the birds, everyone's like, oh yeah, I've got it, I get it. That's brilliant. Thanks very much.
Yeah, which is a dead easy way of it's those little sort of things. And that's not just about sales, that's about life, isn't it? And that's what Des always says, it's about, like, life and people, and just getting to know people more. So a bit like you've just explained there, if you walk away from the sales dojo as a non-salesy person, who, as I think I am, with that little bit of nugget that when I go and speak to somebody, I can say, oh, they're a parrot, or they're a this, that, and the other. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
There's lots of other things there as well, that because I went through a few talks there and that a while back before the lockdown, and things about managing yourself as well. And there's lots of different things that just apply to people in business or people in life, full stop. Different strategies and about goal settings, be it personal goals or financial goals or business goals. So I think there's been some really good sessions there on lots of different topics. And you do a podcast now, don't you?
Oh yeah, I think we're on about 150 on the podcast now, which is nuts. And it adds it's had 500,000 downloads, which I just can't get my head around. And it's boss, because someone just messaged and goes, I love this, what was discussed on the podcast, and I've used it. And that's the whole thing with it. So I'm crazy about sales and selling. I love it passionately. I want kids in schools to go to career tutors and say, I want to work in sales. That's the vision. And I really love that when I'm doing it, I feel like I'm cheating. So my job in my business is selling more stuff. That's what my job is. I'm new business. I'm speaking to some of the best trainers and coaches on the planet, and having a really good chat with them, and I'm learning every single day. So I feel like I'm cheating. I genuinely do. So we've done loads of interviews with boss sales trainers. That's the first series that we've done. Me and Chris have some chats just between us about some stuff which we found useful. There's another series which is a Clubhouse series where we've interviewed some people about specific topics, and then we've just started in the last 4 or 5 weeks doing This Week in Sales, which is basically looking at some posts on social media that have been discussing sales and selling stuff. And Susie who's in Germany, Chris and myself discuss them. And again, it's boss, because we've had some chats, and then someone's messaged me on LinkedIn and gone, do you know what? I really like that. Thanks very much. I've just used it to do this. And what I love before what you said, Helen, as well, is about taking 1 or 2 things away. If you go to a talk hoping to learn about how to completely sell to everyone and sell £1 million, that ain't happening, because it's a constant thing that you need to be doing. Is you need to be always learning. So the whole point of the sales dojo is come, learn something, go and test it and see if it works, because what works for John might not work for Sarah. That's a fact. And everything that you can actually teach in sales has already been said. But what happens is we get different voices saying it, and one of those different voices just might resonate with you, which means that it'll help you to get it. Like Sandra said about Rich, there would have been a few people who just sat through that and gone, what's this dipstick going on about? What's this got to do with anything? But there will be a couple of people who've gone, that's really good. And that's why we always have 2 or 3 speakers. So there's a couple of different versions of a couple of different things. And I say, all I want is someone to go back to the office that day, try something they've heard, and get a sale, feel a bit better about the day, feel a bit better about the job, feel a bit better about their life, and maybe buy some new shoes.
I'm well in for that. So is it monthly? Is it monthly? Because did it used to be monthly? Or?
So we were doing them monthly before COVID happened. After COVID happened, we've tried to get them back, and the audience haven't been that good because of problems around COVID. So in order to make the events free, I get the speakers for free, I get the venue for free, and I'll guarantee the venue and the speaker, I'll get loads of people through the door. So we've had to park it for a while until everyone's more confident, which they are now. So the next one is in August. We'll have 80 to 100 people. I'll send you the full date. We'll have 80 to 100 people at the event. Yeah. I'll definitely share it with you. And we'll have 3 really cool speakers. And then we've booked August, September, October, November, and December. So the next 5 are definitely all there.
Brilliant.
So what's your favourite thing? Is your favourite thing being in, being in the sales dojo in person, like face-to-face meetings and things like that, or doing your podcast?
So if I was being selfish, I'd say the podcast, because I learn loads on the podcast. Like, I mean, I'm doing 2 or 3 sheets of A4 notes when I'm talking to people and asking them questions. So it's boss. And a part of the event is I'm more there for everybody else. So, and that feeds my soul as well. Like seeing someone go, oh, I get it. That's a joy to be able to deliver someone an aha moment like that is a joy. So I get 2 different things out of it. So for the podcast stuff, it's for me, and I get loads from it, and I get loads of feedback when it does. But it's mostly the joy I get that from me. But with the in person, like people coming up to me after the event and going, "That's boss. That's something I'll really use." That's amazing.
Yeah. And Resty's listening in. So Steve Rest's listening in. He says, loving this, guys. And it's quite mad because we was only talking about Steve Rest last week to you, Sam, wasn't I? And we're going to get him on as a guest. He doesn't know yet, but he might do now, and now he's listening. So.
We haven't asked him, but we're quite keen for him. We've got people lined up. And so now you have a subscription service, don't you? Is that right, to the website and that?
So we had a subscription service which I started during COVID. That's going to be made free for everyone in the next month or so because it was just the wrong time to launch that. So I'm going to be making the subscription free for at least the next 12 months.
Amazing.
How good's that?
I know, it's boss, isn't it? So when you're not doing sales though, Joey, and working in sales and things like that, what else do you do?
So I'm very proud to be a trustee on the board for Emmaus, which is the Emmaus Merseyside, which is a homeless charity based in Seaforth, just off the train station in Seaforth. So that gives me loads of joy, and I just want to share a really quick story with you the other day. So the guy who was the chairman of Emmaus was given an MBE recently for his service to the homelessness, which is ACE. So they had an event at at Emmaus, and I was sat there, and there's a guy who's they call them companions. So the people who come in who are homeless, Emmaus is about making a community and getting people back into the community. So it's not about giving someone somewhere to stay tonight. It's about reintegrating people back into society based on the challenges that they've had and the reasons why they ended up homeless and stuff. And there was a chap in there who said, Emmaus saved my life. And I just think that's boss, man. Wow. Like it's boss. We were just chatting and he just said, Emmaus saved my life. And it was proper boss for him to say that, because I just think there for the grace of God go I with stuff like that. So when I've spoke to some of the guys who are companions, or I often speak to people who are on the street in town because I want to try and help them get back into somewhere, none of their stories are horrific horror stories which sound like a film. They're all, I had an argument with missus, we had a fight, and then this happened, and then all of a sudden, and then I've got nowhere to stay, and my mum died, and I've got nowhere to, and it is genuinely there for the grace of God go I with stuff like that. So I always think society's broken. If you can have somewhere where someone's paying £300 for a steak in the same street where someone's not able to live, something's wrong. And I firmly believe that if there's anything that we can do to straighten that up, it's really important. So I'm honoured to be a trustee at Emmaus. I've got the mayor, Joanne Anderson, to thank for dragging me along there and getting me involved. So thanks, Joanne. She left about 2 weeks after I joined as a trustee. So sneaky bugger.
She knew it was in safe hands. She knew it was in safe hands with you being in there.
That's nice to say. But yeah, I like doing that. And then I think the other thing I do is I've got allotments. So anyone who knows me will not believe that, because I'm in town in a 3-piece suit all week. But other weekends you will find me on my knees, hands dirty, listening to a bit of Smooth FM or something else on a radio, pulling up weeds, tending to plants, talking to me tomato plants, trying to make weak-looking plants get a little bit stronger, watering, weeding, all that kind of stuff. So most of the weekend I'm on the allotment.
Where's your allotment?
Hatton Hill. It's in Litherland.
Is that on the other side of Emmaus?
So it's not far from it. It's
where the Lidley bit is down there. Is that?
No. So if you go up towards, do you know where the KFC is?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hook a left at the KFC and that road becomes Hatton Hill Road.
Ah, right, okay. No, my uncle's got one. He's got one at the back of the Lidl on the other side. I don't know whether it was the same one, but he's the same. He just goes and he grows things, and he gave me dad a bag of stuff, because they just grow that much stuff.
Yeah.
And it was lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, radishes, and he had chickens on the allotment as well, and it was eggs, and everything was grown, and it's just like just tastes totally different. When you grow stuff, it's just, and I love the thought of it, but I'm just not patient enough. But I like
It's
eating it.
totally nuts. So any tomato in Tesco's is grown to be as red as possible and to last as long as possible on the shelf. It's not necessarily grown for taste. So the kind of tomatoes that you grow looks a bit lumpy and bumpy, and it's maybe got a little bit of green and a little bit of a tinge of brown in there, but the flavour's unreal.
Amazing,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Ryan McVeigh's commented, Leon helps everyone he can when they need it in any spare time he has. Nice one. And he's put Wolf, because he calls him the Wolf of Old Hall Street, Ryan. And, Leon recommended me to Ryan, and I taught him Spanish on and off for quite some time. Really.
Oh, brilliant.
In touch, yeah. So he's got himself a house now, hasn't he, in Mughal, and settled down with Sarah. So Sarah knows.
He is, and he's always coming down to borrow the lawnmower and stuff, so he's proper domesticated now.
Oh, my friend's husband, Italo, cut my grass at the weekend because I babysat Saturday night for her. I was so happy. So that's why I should have done a shout out for as well. Those three went up to bed, no bother. That was a miracle. So I was made up.
Because they knew you were babysitting.
No, Marie threatened them. Like that. Yeah.
So what's your favourite thing to grow?
So I would probably say asparagus, and the reason for that is you can almost watch asparagus grow. Like, it grows so fast. We've done it before where we've set a timer up, where you can do the slow down video on the phone, and you can see it grow half an inch in the space of a few hours. If you water it loads, it just grows really quick.
Hang on a minute, Leon. Asparagus, because I've never grown that. Does it just grow from seed?
You can grow from seed, but the best way to do it is what they call crowns. So asparagus will grow a load of roots, and then it'll throw the shoots up, and then the shoots will die off, but the crown will stay in the floor. And mine have been in for 5 or 6 years, and they last about 25 years, the crown. So, and asparagus is probably the most, if you per square foot, because of the cost of asparagus, it's the one that you make the most money on, or save the most money on, I guess. But I love growing all of it. Like, I love growing all of it. I've got 25 chili plants in my greenhouse, and I bought a load of really hot ones this time. So I've got like Carolina Reapers and Nagas and Ghosts and stuff like that. So I actually bet Ben, who's my nephew, I bet him 100 quid he can't eat one of them when they're ripe. So I'm looking forward to watching him try and eat one.
You need to video that and put it on to get your niece to video and put it on TikTok.
She'll be putting on TikTok, definitely.
No, but they do. So are you into chilies, or is it just something you're going to do the chili challenge with people?
I love chilies. I love hot food and stuff like that. Yeah. So loads of these ones, they're not consumable. Like, they're not ones that you can use. You can maybe put one in a chili jam or something like that, or maybe put one in a curry, or a quarter of one in a curry. But some of these are
lethal.
Like a habanero is like 1 million on the Scoville. These Carolina Reapers are like 200 million or something like that. It's like, some of them you have to wear gloves because they'll burn your skin.
Oh, wow.
Ollie, that's terrible.
So Brian Quinn's listening, and he says, "About time we had me lad on."
Oh, Brian Quinn's hosted this show and been a guest several times.
Many a time. And he might be stepping in again very soon.
He's like water, Brian Quinn. He gets everywhere, doesn't he?
Oh. Fantastic. So have you grown everything you want to grow, or are you going to do some new stuff you haven't thought of before?
So I always try and get new stuff, because I like the idea. So having an allotment is basically you versus nature. That's how it works. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to do things totally against the run of play with nature. So all of the plants want to throw up flowers, and they do that when it's hot. So you need to water them low so they don't throw up a flower, because once it throws up a flower, then you've lost. So there's a few things that I want to do. I think it's orca, it's called, or ochra. which is some kind of Oriental
Is that
thing.
lady fingers?
Yeah.
Is that the lady
Is it?
fingers? Yeah.
And Tom's watching because it's very, very popular in New Orleans. They do it and in the West Indies and that they use it in gumbos and things like that. Yeah, very in Jamaica, all of that they have okra.
So I've just got a fig tree, so that's a fig ticked off. I'm probably going to get some nuts next time, so I'm going to get a few nut trees and nut bushes and stuff like that because I haven't got any of them right now. So that's probably what I'll get next.
And is it? Are you at the point where you're sort of a little bit self-sustaining on your veg and stuff like that?
So I'd love to be,
yet?
but I can never plan it that well. So if I was retired or semi-retired and I had enough time to do it, I might be able to do that. But most of my stuff comes in gluts. So like we have, I mean, the way it works with allotments, what you're supposed to do is you buy a pack of 100 seeds, you germinate them 100 seeds, about 80 of them turn into actually grow. From that 80, you pick the 40 strongest and you pot them on, and the other 40 you put in the compost. And then with that 40, when they've grown for a few weeks, you get the 20 strongest, you pot them on, and the other 20 you put on the compost. And then from them 20, you get the 10 strongest, you put them in the ground, the other 10 go in the compost. My problem is it's the ones who aren't going to make the cut. They're the ones I really want to work with. I want to make them strong plants. So I end up with loads and loads and loads of plants, which is the reason why I've got 5 allotments. So the other year I had 148 sweet corn plants, and you get 2 or 3 ears of corn from each one. So that's anything between 300 and 450 sweet corns. And the sweet corns aren't like you see in the shops like that. Sweet corns are like this big. So I ended up having to buy a new freezer and still couldn't give them away. So
pass some food to the historically you've passed some food sometimes to the food banks, haven't you?
Yeah, we have done them. We try and chop some over to Emmaus. I've got my mum did YTS hairdressing, and she's got a few people whose hair she's been doing for 30, 40, 50 years. So a lot of the women who come along, I've dropped some food off for them and stuff like that. Try and put some in at Emmaus, but give most of it away. And then the really nice thing about the allotments is it's a bit of a community. So if you've got 40 onions and someone's got 2 cabbages, you swap some and all that kind of stuff. So the community element of it's really good.
Because somebody was talking about allotments and they were talking about, sort of what you were saying, the surplus of amount of food. And I had this great idea of coming up with a food prep for people who can't afford food prep, because quite a lot of food prep, like healthy eating, is like mega expensive. Yes. And I thought what we could do is go to all the allotments, get all the food, give it to somebody like Chefy who can cook all the stuff, and you pay, I don't know, a couple of quid a week, but you don't know what you're going to get because it depends on what's being grown. So you could, if there was loads of tomatoes and stuff, like you could make like a pasta sauce or something. So you never know what you're going to get, but it's always going to be like fresh ingredients ready to think like that.
I love that. So on our site, one end of it has got it used to be a garage and it's currently a bit of a garden centre or whatever. So the plan is, there was an announcement recently about community spaces and the council making them more available for grants and funding and stuff. So the dream is that the Allotment Association owns the land and also owns this shop, and then we make a pay-as-you-feel space where this week we've got loads of toms, so it's tomato soup, but next week it's broad bean salad, and the week after it's beetroot, and you come in, you pay, and if you've got kids off this week and you haven't got the dough to enable you to take them out somewhere or take them for nice food, you can bring them in and they can have some wholehearted, hearty food made with fresh fruit and veg, which is grown like proper locally.
Right by the allotments. It's quite a good education, and they're saying all that gardening and stuff is amazing for like people's mental health and just getting out there and chilling, isn't it?
It's really good. We've just spoken locally to Queen of Peace. It's Queen of Peace. So we've got a little space on there which is an orchard, and it's kind of left a back room because it belongs to the committee rather than everyone else's. So it's when people get time, they do some stuff with it. So we've applied for a few grants in the last couple of months, and hopefully one of them will come through, which will give us some money. So we went to Queen of Peace and spoke to the kids and to the teachers in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to invite all of them to come over and have a look, measure it up, and then they can come up with the plans of what it's going to look like. And then it can be a bit of a community garden that they can come along to. So hopefully over the summer, they might volunteer with the parents and stuff and come and have a look at where fruit grows, and also have a look at the frogs and the newts and stuff like that.
That's fantastic.
So you're running 2
Amazing.
businesses and all of that as well. You're so involved with the allotment and, you know, supporting different people and organisations too.
ADHD has a blessings as well, doesn't it, as well as a curse?
100%. Absolutely.
Brilliant.
I love positivity, don't I? Wonderful. Well, I bet he's got a red face, Hal.
I was going to say, I'm sure he'll have a red face or two. So
Yeah.
massive thank you, Leon, for sharing your story and lots of comments. So thanks to everyone for listening and sharing your comments. It's really cool when we get comments and something like that. So we have a red face moment, something that you can, you know, talk about that people can laugh along with, not at you. So Peter Lloyd, oh yeah, Peter Lloyd's listening. He says, great to hear from you all. And about Leon's green fingers, there you go.
Oh,
He's
yeah, and
welcome to come and weed in any time he wants.
Tom said you can't make a gumbo without opera.
There you go. Have you got any red face, San? Have you got a red face this week?
Probably.
I'm sure something happened and we said we'll save that for the radio and I can't.
Oh yeah, I had to put one actually and I thought, oh, that's brilliant for the radio, but it's gone. It'll come back to me, don't worry, there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
You've got one, haven't you, Helen? That you
No.
don't think that bad. No, it's not. No.
So Mike Brome was on Danny Clark's course. He was our past guest, Danny Clark. Mike Brome won't be our guest anymore.
He said I'm not coming on. Go on.
And he was coming out of Danny Clark's course and crossing over the road, and I was driving down, and he sort of walked out towards the front of the car and then sort of like jumped back, and I thought, God, that fella did not look like Mike Brome. But there's no way that he lives in Kirby. There's no way he'd be in town. And then he said, you nearly ran me over, but I never. Because if I'd known it was him, I would have swerved to run him over.
Yeah. So there we go. What about you, Leon? Have you had any embarrassing moments this week?
Can't say this week, but I've got a really funny story which is hilarious. It's kind of clean, so don't worry. So,
okay.
I know you shouldn't really go for a poo in school, but one time I went to the toilet in the office, and the office have got these really brilliant things to save energy, so the lights go off after a certain amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
So I was sat minding my own business on my phone, and the light went off, and there was obviously no one in there. So I jumped up and I put my hand over the top, and I was waving, and it wasn't coming on. So I opened the door, kecks around my ankles, and I'm waving like this to try and get the lights to come back on. And some fella walked in and just seen me with my kecks around my ankles, waving like that. And we looked at each other for a second. I just went, all right, mate. And then turned around, went back in the loo.
Shuffle
And
back.
I've never seen the guy again in the office. I think he may have moved businesses.
Imagine. He probably came to look for premises that day, nipped into the loo and thought, no.
I'll check the toilets out. I'm not going there.
Yeah, Frankie tells everyone in her work that story when she sees them.
Oh, it's a really good story, that. I love
brilliant.
that.
That's amazing.
Quality.
What about you, Sam?
Well, certainly nothing like that. No, I probably have, I'm sure, but I've been okay this week. We'll just hang on to that.
Well done.
I'm start making a note of them in my phone because something does happen every week. But then if it's soon after the show, I forget by next week.
Something happened and we said, oh, we need to share that. I can't remember what it is either.
It definitely happens. It'll come back to us and you can remind me and we'll tell everyone next week.
Steve Rest's got lots of little crying, laughing faces over that one.
I know, that's such a cool story, isn't it? Yeah, I love that. That's a brilliant one.
So shout out to the grown-ups, any grown-ups who've done amazing things. So are you going first? Am I going first?
I'll let you go first, Helen, because I've got a few.
Okay, so I've got two. One of them might be yours. They might both be. So I want to shout out to Tony Lloyd, who's been put up for. So we did the ADHD conference last week, which was brilliant. And he's also been nominated for the National Diversity Awards for all the work that he's been doing. So that's a great shout out. And I want to shout out to Sophie Clark, who was one of our past guests.
Oh, yes, you are taking mine.
Go on then, you can take Sophie's. Go on.
All right. Go on. And I did a post on Saturday because I thought, you know, we always have local people doing great stuff, all different types, you know, people who live among us who just maybe making a difference in the community or running 2 businesses and giving food out and things like that, whatever. And I gave a shout out to Paul McCartney, because Paul McCartney, as I said, grew up in a one-parent family because he lost his mum when he was very young, practices guitar in his bedroom and speak, and ends up at the age of 80 doing a 3-hour set at Glastonbury on the main stage. So, you know, what in his whole life, we know he's achieved loads, but, you know, what a shout out. And he might have inspired so many people. And, you know, Liverpool's very known for its music scene in the 60s and then again through to the 80s. You know, a lot of the children of the musicians from the 60s got into music in the 80s, etc. And a lot of people will have been inspired by the Beatles and their success and the other bands that were around at the time. And of course, Paul McCartney is so significant. And
it was a great shout out though, wasn't it? It was a great poster, but the way you wrote it, I thought, oh, and then I thought, oh, it was clever that, yeah. So it was a really good poster.
100% when you think of his background and, you know, obstacles and things, he did absolutely brilliantly. And he's put so much back into the city as well, financially and everything, and helped so many people.
So as everyone famously knows, Paul McCartney actually died in a car crash about 70 years ago, and it was replaced by a fake person. You've always obviously listened to Sgt. Pepper's when you play it backwards. I bet the guy who was taking over from Paul McCartney didn't think he'd have the gig for this long.
That was an unusual thing there.
Have you got any grown-ups, Leon, that you want to shout out to?
Who can I think of? Oh, right. So I'll tell you what, I went to one of the corporate openings of Zen, which is a boss new place in town. It's on Victoria Street. It's next to the Sir Thomas Hotel where they built that car park. So Kat Roberts, who used to work at Ulforno and put me onto the roast there, so shout out to Kat. She was going for some interviews, and I had a few chats with her around the time because she was a bit nervous about whether or not she'd get a job or whatever. So Kat actually was pretty much responsible for all of the decor, all of the way it was set out, all of the cutlery, all the tables, all that kind of stuff. So she's like done like a general manager thing. She's absolutely smashed it with that place. It's unbelievable. And massive shout out to Kat, who's done an unbelievable job with that. It's probably going to be the biggest place in town for the rest of the year.
Wow, brilliant.
In all the Mick Clark did all the telecoms there with the Baltic people, so he was saying how great it was.
It's unbelievable.
Brilliant.
It's unbelievable. The food's unbelievable as well.
Yeah. So do you have a positive challenge, Leon, that you could challenge people to do this week? Could be around your sales, it could be around your allotment, it could be, we've had things like, you know, I don't know, make a cake for the neighbour.
Let a stranger, stuff like that.
So I'm sure every week seems to be mental health week lately, and people are always talking about it. But anyone who's listening, what I would challenge to do is to ask someone how they're getting on. And when they say it's brilliant, it's great, and all that crap they always say at the start, ask them then how you're really getting on. And it's a really powerful question when you ask that again after they've already said something to you, and you'll find that they'll give you a slightly different answer, and they'll probably tell you the real things that are going on. And listen then. Just listen to what they've got to say. You don't have to give them any answers or give them any opportunities to do anything. Just have to listen, and sometimes actually vocalizing a challenge that you've had or a problem that you're suffering really helps. So my challenge, positive challenge, which doesn't sound that positive, so I do apologize, would be to ask someone how they're getting on and then ask them again.
Brilliant. Love that. And it is about, you know, like sharing it, isn't it? You know, and as you say, you know, people go, oh yeah, I'm great, thanks very much. Because that's sort of like the stock answer that they give, isn't it? You know.
I do think people are more able at the moment, though. People, since everything that's happened, I think people are more able to communicate that now than they used to be. Years ago, people didn't speak about things and they kept their mouths closed about how they were feeling, if it was a mental health issue, for example. But now, definitely, people seem to be, it's okay to talk about it, isn't it?
Yeah, massively, yeah.
And that's definitely good news. We're all involved in networking organisations, and often the thing happens when you speak to someone and say, how's business? They go, brilliant, they're busy. Drill into that, ask them some questions, find out who they want to work with, try and make an introduction, because maybe it's not going as well as they say the first time they ask them.
Brilliant. Yeah. Amazing. So we want to say a massive thank you to Leon for giving his time and sharing his story with us. It's been super inspirational. Everybody get down to the dojo, the sales dojo, or check it out online and everything else like that. Massive thank you to Sandra, as always.
Oh yeah, as well.
We'll put the links, we'll share the links on the page.
Thank you.
And we're going to close it with Leon is going to close it with a mantra. So I want to say massive thank you to everybody. We'll see everybody next week. And Leon's going to close the show with his positive mantra.
Oh, is this what you asked me for? Okay, cool. Sorry. Yeah. So my favorite quote is a Zig Ziglar quote, which is, you can have everything that you want in life if you will just help as many people as you possibly can get what they want out of life.
Brilliant. So we're going to close it there. Massive thank you to everybody, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you so much for coming on.